Hey there. I didn't see you pull up. Glad you're there because I have a little story for you. It's in regards to bicycles and adventure and what you learn along the way. You see, one of the greatest things that I've ever done physically was go from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Washington, D.C. on a bicycle in 3 days and 5 hours. Now, I know it could be done faster, but what I did on that trip with whom I did it with, that's what taught me a lesson that I'll take with me forever. And I'm gonna share that with you. See, I went to the gym to get a job years ago, and I worked from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. just to stay afloat with one of my startup businesses. And every day this man would come in, his name was John. John was 65 years old, he was just retiring as a postal office employee. And he had a couple things on his bucket list. He always told me what he wanted to do now that he was retired. One day, I told him that I was gonna be making the trip from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. on a bicycle. And he said, man, that has been on my bucket list for 20 years. Will you take me with you? I thought to myself, there's no way I wanna do this with someone. They're gonna slow me down, they're gonna hold me back, something bad could happen, they're not prepared. He's 65 years old. What could go wrong? Probably a lot. And so he trained every day and every afternoon, twice a day most likely, he was coming in and training. And I realized his dedication to getting in great shape. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This guy seems like he's in phenomenal shape. I think he's gonna make it. So I gave him the opportunity to come with me, and I was just gonna go alone. So we woke up one day at 4 in the morning from Mount Washington, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we made the trip. Day one, we did 120 miles on a bicycle. 120 miles, that's about 12 hours on a bicycle. Now that is whenever you're still on this high of traveling on the back roads and you're excited because you're a third of the way there. Usually it's 320 miles and you go 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, and then you can end it with a short little trip the following day. So we're rolling. I felt amazing. And along the way, I keep eating. Even when I'm not even hungry, I force myself to eat because food is absolute 100% fuel, especially when you're overexerting your body like that. So we get to a place that's 120 miles away, and I notice this man is not eating at all. And you can start to see him dropping weight. I mean, we were on a bicycle for 12 hours. And he's saying to himself that, you know, he just doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need any food. He's perfectly fine. He had a couple protein bars, he's good. We stop at this one restaurant and I'm eating and I'm getting sick because I'm just trying to force food down my stomach. And he orders ice cream because he just wants some type of, you know, caloric intake, and he just wants high calorie, high sugar, whatever. And I knew that was a bad decision. So after the meal, we went into our tents, we went to sleep. The next day we wake up again at 4 or 5 in the morning. And about mile 60, only about halfway on this day, day 2, this man starts to break down mentally, physically, and he just stops moving. We get into the woods and he is mentally not there. He's out of it. I mean, his body's breaking down and he's trying to give up. He's trying to quit on himself. He's trying to call the police or 911 or his family to get him out of the woods. I mean, we are in the middle of the woods, nobody around, and he doesn't even have any reception. So I'm egging him on. I'm trying to get him to the next camp location, which is about 25 miles away. But in his mind, he gave up. He is done. So I keep telling him, listen, you're gonna die here. You are going to die if you stay here. Your body is shutting down. There's something going wrong here. And after about probably a half hour to an hour, which we're burning daylight, of me fighting and pushing him as much as I possibly can, he finally gets on his bike and I just keep pushing him along the way. Let's go, let's go, let's go, come on. What's your family gonna think of you? What are you gonna do? You're gonna fail? You're gonna give up on your dreams like that? This is your bucket list item. We get to the camp location and he's telling me he's done. He cannot make the last 120 miles about. He wants to go home. The problem is we're so far into the woods, nobody can help us. Nobody around. And his body is just still shutting down. I'm starting to see him get really sick. And I'm getting scared. So I told him, we're gonna have to get you, life flight you out of here because you're going down, man. And something kicked in him that night. Something said to himself, well, if I give up now, what else am I gonna give up on? And he's afraid to call his wife when we got to a town or a location where he called and say, I'm done. He didn't want to do that. The next day, he just started feeling a little bit better. I was forcing food down him, just eat this, do whatever you can, get food down your stomach. Anyway, day 3. Things start to pick back up. We start to go a little bit faster. He starts to forget about the pain a little bit. And that's whenever I realized that if I just can help people along out of that breaking period, something happens in their mind where they say, well, I can climb myself out of this. I can make it. Day 3.5, we're rolling. We're starting to feel good again. My body is starting to hurt, but my mind is staying focused on the task. There's no way I'm giving up. If something happens to the bike, there's no way. I cannot quit. I've come too far. And me pushing him and egging him on, he's starting to keep up with me. And even if I would travel so far ahead of him, eventually 20, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, he would come up looking for me. So me being the leader of that pack, he eventually was looking at me as like the example. I was setting an example for him. We get to Washington, D.C. at day 3.5, and the man lost 25 or 30 pounds in 3 days. 25, this guy looked sick. We get on the train, we come back. He didn't even look like the same man. That's how much weight he lost. It was probably all water weight, but that is not good on your body. And he was down for the count for weeks and months afterwards. He'd come up to me every day since then, whenever I'd see him. And he tells me, man, I almost died, I almost quit. Everything, my body was shutting down, but you wouldn't let that happen. And he thanks me to this day for helping him get through that crazy time in his life and to get that off his list. It's when I realized a couple things. Number one, when you are pushing someone to accomplish something great, they're gonna hate you. They are going to kick and scream and they're gonna be pissed off at you as much as possible. But that's a good thing. You see, these people need that. And they're gonna thank you every day for the rest of their life if you help them get to the end zone or the goal line or accomplish that dream of theirs. Number two, you gotta feed your body whenever it doesn't even feel like it. Being an entrepreneur and doing all this crazy stuff, your mind, your body, relationships, everything breaks down. So you have to feed yourself whenever you can, as often as you can. Whether it's bike rides like this, or reading and maybe being around the right people, or rewarding yourself with certain things. Feed yourself. And the third thing is that no matter how difficult the journey gets, the destination is always worth it. For you, for the people around you. Because that story not only taught me a lot of lessons, but it gave me a memory that I could share with you guys and anyone else around. So those 3 things that I take from a bicycle trip that only lasted 3.5 days will stay with me for the rest of my life. So anybody out there trying to build a business or take a long trip or motivate someone else to do something that they've always wanted to do, it is not going to be easy. There are people out there who are going to kick and scream along the way, but trust me, if you get them to where they want to go, they're going to thank you for the rest of their life and your life.